Hey everyone, hope you're doing good. I thought it'd be really cool if we were to do a factory tour to show you how we do exactly what we do. So this is where we make our lips and barrels. So I'm going to show you the process from start to finish so you get a solid idea exactly how your lips and how your barrels are made. So we generally hold a fairly large amount of stock, but none of these pieces are polished as sometimes they can sit around for a while. So if we were to polish them, they'd quite simply go dull and tarnish, and then let's say 2-3 months down the line, we would need to repolish them before they're posted out. And on a slight tangent here, the FFF you can see there stands for the type of step or lip profile that the lip or barrel are. So F is single, 2 Fs is double, and 3 Fs is for a triple step lip. So this is how your lips and barrels start out. They originally start off as a massive sheet of T6 6061 forged aluminium. From there they're cut into these discs. So this machine behind me is a guillotine, and this is where we trim the edges of those discs to allow us to get the perfect shape for the mold to minimize wastage. And as always, all of the scrap aluminium is recycled and turned into new lips in the future. This machine here is where the magic happens. What you're looking at is a massive press. So in a minute you'll see that we put one of those discs on there that we showed earlier. There's a mold that will go on there, and then that press comes down and pushes that aluminium into the shape that it needs to be. So although at this point you now kind of have 75% of the shape that you require, a lot more work is still required. At this point the bore is machined to a non-specific size, but this will be lathed down at a later point. So this next stage, although pretty boring to capture as it is the heat treatment stage, and what it is a bunch of lips and barrels in an oven for about 24 hours and then they are cooled down in a cooling liquid. Essentially it's a process we do around about once per week, so I wasn't able to capture the entire thing, but hopefully you get an idea. So the discoloration that you see on the lips and barrels immediately after the heat treatment process, this is gone essentially straight away after the first skim on the lathe, so it's not a permanent thing and is really more so staining rather than a deep discoloration of the entire material. Now this is where we skim over either side of the lips and barrels. And what this allows for is, yes, a complete uniform shape, but also a complete uniform weight and consistent weight throughout each and every single lip and barrel that is the identical size. In this stage also, we machine the center bore specific to the customer's wheel order. Now I don't need to explain too much of the obvious here, but this is where the lips and barrels are drilled to the exact required PCD of the customer's order. So sanding is up next, but the most important thing that we need to do before sanding is to deburr those holes. Otherwise you're going to have bits of aluminium that are going to be sharp and sticking out, and quite frankly going to damage the tools, and even worse, hurt one of the workers. So now that we've done the forming work, we've done the basic lathe work, we've then gone on to the hardening process, then on to CNC, then on to drilling. Now we're ready for the finishing process. Now one thing that separates our lips and barrels compared to a lot of the other manufacturers comes down to the finishing process. Quite frankly, it's just extremely lengthy and a lot of it is done by hand. But this allows us to get an absolutely banging finish. This means we finish not only the outside but the inside. The stage that we sand to is around about a 320 to 400 grit. This allows us to then go straight in with the sisal mop for our first stage of the polish and ensure all the sanding marks are completely gone. This stack of lips are just about to be polished. You can see that the direction of the lines is completely consistent, and that is around about a 400 grit, just like I said. So this means that the polisher's job is made so much easier because all of the prep sanding is done perfectly. Now this is just a typical 3-stage polish, usually using a sisal, then onto a denim, then onto a fine wool close stitch mop, and each of these would have their matching compounds. So this first compound always has a very high cut to remove all of the sanding marks, then from there, by the time you're at the end, you're quite literally only giving it a shine. It's got a very, very low cut, and these compounds at the end are usually much harder than the softer compounds that you'd use at the beginning. Now this is my most favorite machine. It is the final stage of all of the processes. So yes, there's probably some bias for the fact that it is the final stage, but it is a very cool and simple machine at that. So these ceramic beads are the same ceramic beads that you'd have as a final stage ceramic polish. But essentially this is slightly different in the way it doesn't work with a vibration, it works with rotation. So this is a full custom made machine, and it really just gives it that final probably like 3 to 5% of the finishing process. Now, after all the work that's gone into everything, you want to ensure that the product that you're producing is absolutely perfect. So we requested this machine to be built specifically for the reason of really locking in all of that hard work and finessing that final 3 to 5%. The process generally lasts around about 15 minutes and it's split into two, so you've got about 7.5 minutes either direction. Then it automatically pops up at the end. From there, you would use an Allen key to release it from its chuck, take it off, and as you can see here, we just give it a final rinse to ensure that all of the compound, all of any ceramic beads that may be remaining, anything like that is rinsed off, and then we give it a final blow dry. It does actually sound like a little bit of a haircut process here, but it is a very simple process, just a rinse and a blow dry at the end, and we are good to go.
Now the absolute final thing that we do after the inspection, just to make sure that everything is looking all good, is we use that film, which you can just see there, to wrap around the edge, protect everything. So in the packing, in the shipping process, all of that, you're going to have a brand spanking new piece arrive with you instead of something that's going to have been roughed up if it wasn't protected. So that piece of green film is super duper important, and it's something that we do on all of the outer edge of the lips.
Now hopefully that's given you some insight, and as always, if you've got any questions on how we do what we do, drop them in the comments, drop us an email, I'm more than happy to help. And if you need to order any parts for your wheels, head over to rimskynair.com or drop us an email on sales@rimskynair.co.uk, and catch you guys in the next one.